Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Life's a Project. It is Stacy here, and I like to share my everyday life projects with you. So today's project is making an A-frame trellis. So if you follow my channel, you'll know in a past video that I shared with you that I planted up a few vine crops. Starting here, I planted a few pumpkin seeds, actually 2 in each spot. Both did germinate, so instead of throwing out 2 of the plants, I couldn't do it. I just kind of planted them in the center of this bed next to the kale. So I have 4 growing in this container, which is a lot for this small space, so I really do need to grow vertically. Now in this container, I have a couple of cantaloupe plants growing on this end, and you can see that I've added this obelisk to the center for them to kind of grow up, and I was going to have them grow down the side underneath, but I really do need a better trellising system for this bed as well, because next to it I do have some watermelon plants that I have growing that are looking great. Now these I also planted, just like the pumpkins, 2 seeds per spot, and they all germinated, and I didn't want to thin them out and kill them, so I did transplant one into a pot, and it is looking fantastic, and I'm going to give that away. But this one here, you can see it did not like to be transplanted, but the center growth here is looking good. And if you can believe it, that is how pitiful this cantaloupe plant looked when I first transplanted it from the other bed. So I'm hoping it will bounce back. If not, I'm not out anything. I was going to kill the poor thing anyway. So I'm hoping it will survive. We shall see. If I do, then I'll have 3 watermelon plants growing in this space and 2 cantaloupes here on the end. So I really do need a better trellising system to support heavier fruit. So guys, this is what I came up with, and I am loving it so far. Now these are 1x2x8s or furring strips that you can purchase from Lowe's. They were $1.28 a piece. You need 6 to make this trellis. You just have to cut them to size. Now that is $7.68 for all 6 pieces of wood to make this trellis. So that is a really super deal for the wood. Now I already had the screws and other things like the tools to make it, so I really was only out the wood. Now you can see here I also have some furring strips, and I shared that with you when I planted up my tomatoes, of a good way to trellis your tomatoes by tying your tomato vines to these furring strips that I've just placed in my container right down in the soil. So over here I use those same furring strips to make this trellis, and so I just need to make another one for my other container. I think they'll be really sturdy, and you can see up here I just connected the 2 panels or panel grids, whatever you want to call them, the 2 sides, with zip ties or cable ties, and those are something that I already had as well. So if you were going to have to purchase all of that, it would cost you a little more. So I'm going to make the second trellis, so I thought I'd bring you right along with me and show you how I made the first one. So I have a bundle here of the furring strips. You get 6 in the bundle already strapped together. That's how they came from Lowe's. I'm just going to leave them together. It'll be really easy to cut them all at once. And at Lowe's, they will cut the wood if you ask them to whatever size you need. In this case, to keep it simple, these 8-foot pieces, you could just cut them right down the center and have a bunch of 4-foot pieces to take home and just, screw them all together to make this trellis 4 foot tall and wide. But for me to really customize this trellis to fit inside of my container, I'll have to do a little more measuring and cutting. So you can see here I have the trellis inside of the container. I didn't want to have to attach it to the outside somehow. I wanted it to sit down inside the container. So in order to do that, I measured inside of the container, and that is 45.5 inches. You times that by 2. That gives you 91 inches. So that is where I'm making my mark to cut my pieces at 91 inches. So then later when I cut them in half, they'll all be 45.5 inches. So I'm going to be using here the DeWalt XR 20 volt battery powered circular saw to make my cut. So now I'm going to be cutting them all in half. I have them marked at 45.5 inches. So the cutting is done, and you can see I kept them kind of bundled together, and that allowed me to cut multiple pieces at one time, and it held them together tightly. Now I went from the 6 long pieces to 12 shorter pieces, the size that I needed to fit down inside of my container. So I'm starting by laying out a few pieces here, and the easiest way is to just start in the corners. So I have a couple of pieces here. You don't have to measure this, you just kind of line them up together. Now I'm going to be attaching these two together using my DeWalt impact driver, and I have it fitted with a Phillips bit. And I have some wood screws. These are 1 1/4 of an inch wood screws, because you want something long enough to fit through both pieces of wood, but not all the way through where you have the screw sticking out the other side. So I screwed that in without pre-drilling my hole, which can cause some splitting. So I'll show you a little bit later how you can try to prevent that by pre-drilling a hole before you place your screw. So I've already screwed in the other top corner piece, so now I need to attach the vertical center board. So I need to find the center of the top board. So now I can line it up and screw it into place. Now I have my just regular DeWalt drill here, and I chose a drill bit to pre-drill my hole that is smaller in diameter than the wood screw that I'm using, because I want those threads to hold on to the wood. So now taking the impact driver, I'll go ahead and screw the screw into the hole. And like I said, the screw will be larger than the diameter of the hole so that the threads of the screw will hold on to the wood. So that's how simple it is to help try to prevent the wood from splitting when you are driving in the screw. But you know, I do have to say that sometimes I don't do that extra step in this project included, because you just want to get the project done. So I have 4 of the pieces together. So for the 5th piece, it'll need to go horizontally on the bottom, but it wouldn't make sense to put it directly on the bottom because that would just be sitting on top of the soil. So I want to come up a bit, about a foot, and so 12 inches. I'll go ahead and make my mark, and I will make a mark on all 3 of the vertical pieces all the way across. So I'm just going to go ahead and line it all up, and you can double check that it is right at 12 inches using your measuring tape here. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get this screwed together. So everything is screwed all the way across. Now you can see the middle vertical piece of wood. Before attaching that one in place, I wanted to make sure everything was nice and square, that that piece was straight up and down. So I did use the square tool. So now I'm measuring to find the center between the top and bottom horizontal pieces, because I want all 3 of those to be equally spaced apart. Of course, you have to consider the fact that I came up off of the bottom 12 inches before putting my first horizontal piece. So I have it marked. I'm going to go ahead and screw it all together and then attach it all the way across, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see one side of the trellis is done. I used all 6 pieces, 3 going horizontally and 3 going vertically, and that first horizontal piece coming up 12 inches from the bottom, and then after that equally spaced apart. So I have the second side of this trellis completed to make an A-frame style trellis, and I'll be placing it in this container. Now I have the kale growing there and it'll be a little tricky, but I think that I can make it work. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put this together. So you can see here I have one side of the trellis and I just stuck it down into the soil inside of the container. So you can see here, just kind of shoved it down into the soil. And now you can see why you do not want to have a horizontal piece at the bottom. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other side of the trellis, and then I'll be able to attach them together at the top. So I have both pieces kind of leaning together to make that A-frame shape. Now here at the top, I did meet the 2 pieces together like this so that they will be close together, and I'll be able to add my cable tie to the top. So guys, both sides are together. The second A-frame trellis is completed, and I'm super excited with how this project turned out. The whole idea was to make an A-frame trellis that was fast, really simple to put together, and inexpensive. Now you can see here at the top, I have these cable ties. I put 3 at the top to hold the thing together. Now it is sturdy and it seems like it will work out fine, but I could have used something like, wood screws or hinges. Now you can see here, I did not paint or stain the wood. Now it will certainly last a whole lot longer if you do, and if I decide to, I will want to use a food safe product for that because it is in the garden, it is around, the produce that I'm going to be growing in this garden. So guys, that is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it does get your ideas going if you want to try to make an A-frame style trellis for yourself. Now I could have put in extra vertical and horizontal, pieces of wood on here to make it even better. So that's something that you may want to do if you make this for yourself. So if you have any questions or comments, place those down in the comment section below, and I hope you will subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future projects. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.